Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Sorry for the delay in getting videos out. It is now, I'm back in Albury after the second week of my build assist. So this is filmed after. I had a heap of progress with the build over the last few days. Heaps of progress in terms of the engine, the wings, and also the propeller. This might be a little bit of a spoiler alert for one of the decisions that I had to make. Today, however, instead of getting straight into day number 6 of my build assist here in Australia, I wanted to start with a little bit of a conversation about the avionics and panel design of my plane. This was one of the things that when I was coming into the build assist, I had a heap of questions about. So it was really great for me to be able to get Errol and Joseph, who's the new avionics guy at Global Aviation, to sit down with me and ask a heap of questions about my panel design and also make some selections in terms of the way that I'm going forward. I really hope that you enjoy this video and you get something out of it, even if it's just little bits and pieces. We talk about everything, including the IFR capability of my plane as well too. So I hope you get a heap out of these videos, and then obviously we'll start to release over the coming weeks each day of the build assist and all the progress that we made. It was a great week up at Hetfield and very exciting. Hope you enjoy, guys.
All right. Okay, let's talk panel. Instrument panel. Okay, so this is just an example of a panel. Let's take this part away from here. So this is just a standard panel. So see, you'll notice couple of things here. This one has got the cut out there for the electric propeller. So that was when we fitted the 915. There is now a propeller available. Well, Airmaster always had it. You can have an electric Airmaster propeller. However, your aircraft has got the MT propeller, which is hydraulic governed. So you're not going to have any propeller controller at all.
Yeah.
So it was a controller plus we had a little switch here for the up and down, for your trim, your pitch, sorry.
Yep.
So you could find, of course, the pitch. So that will not be there. But generally, we talk about, we've got your left side, right side, center stack.
Yep.
That's always, if I order the panel to be cut, that's how I will normally order it from Michael Fletcher, who does all our panel cuts. Generally, all your switches will be at the bottom. Your circuit breakers will be on that side. The options is you can have single display, you can have dual display. You can also have smaller displays, 7-inch displays if you want. But I mean, who would like to have a small display if you can have a big one? So these will be your typical 10-inch GDU 460s, the bigger displays. So the option is you can have, generally on our standard panels, there will all be one of these. The option is you can have 2. I can't remember that we say 1 or 2 for you. So one panel, one panel and a glove box.
Yeah, and then there's a ball joint or something that...
So we've got these really nice little ball joints that will normally be mounted somewhere there or there.
Yeah.
And the idea is, it's a ball joint with a little arm, and you can, it's called a RAM mount system for your iPad. Yeah. And you can literally, place it any which way you want.
Yep.
Some of those RAM mounts have got cooling fans on the back to keep the iPad a little bit colder or cooler. But yeah, generally speaking, the RAM mount is a really easy way to go.
Yep.
Then something else that people want to talk about is the power supplies. Now you can have USB power supply, and that's just so that you can drive all your extra equipment, like your iPads, your phones. You can charge some auxiliary stuff in your aircraft. Again, you can have it just on one side, or you can have 2 on one side. You can have one there. I sort of like the idea of one there, because it makes the panel look a bit more balanced.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, you can put it wherever you want. So you can have, and in that auxiliary power, you can also have 2 options. You can have the real cheaper version, which you can buy from the likes of J-Car or, some of your car shops sell them. It's a little panel mount, and you can have USB outlets, or you can have USB plus C, which is the new standard, or you can just have C. Now, C is typically what your iPhone.
What I'm on.
So if you just want C's, you can have a single or a dual C in one of them, and then a single or a dual C in the other. The last option is also to put one of those in your center console in the back for your rear passengers. So if somebody sits in the back, Like your little daughter with her iPad is just playing games, she can plug it in there. So
definitely, that's
if there's a third one, then you need to note that you would like to have a third one installed in the center console.
Can I just confirm that, Errol? So you can get the dual on both sides? So
we can put both of them there. You can put two of those on one side, or you can have one there, one there. And the idea for one there, one here is a lot of guys use a little suction cup where they put their iPhone. And so the iPhone charges there, and your iPad charges from that one there. Now, we've talked about like the standard type, not just the standard one that you buy from everywhere. Now, if you want to go one step up, you can buy the Garmin GSB15, which is very superior in terms of the quality. Some of these cheaper units that's panel mount can interfere with your transmission, your reception. I can highly recommend the Garmins, but they are expensive. I mean, a Garmin GSB15 is roughly about $400 each. So they're not cheap. So if you're going to run 3 of them, that's boom, 1,000 or 200, whatever US dollars extra, which is a lot of money. However, we've used some of these other ones, the panel mount ones, and I can show you the ones that we buy. They're really good units. They're a little bit bigger in terms of the face, the size, and they're only about $80 to $100.
So if they weren't being used, would the interference still occur? So just say, for instance, I had one there as a backup, but I'm not using it. I use a Garmin over here. If it's not being used, would it still cause the interference just by it being there, or?
I actually do not know. I have to admit, I do not know.
Well,
yes, I actually think we had, because, and you know what happened? I had a Sling too, and we bought some of these, and it was installed on the Sling too. And just for just a certain frequency range, we had this. It almost sounds like a squelch breakthrough. I don't know if you've ever worked in a hangar with neon lights. And when the neons go on, and you switch your radio on, you've got this in your headset, and you think, what the hell is squelch? And if the squelch is on and you switch it off and it's still there, it's actually the breakthrough from the frequency of those neons.
Okay, so they've got hairs on it. Okay, let me change that then. Can I put a Garmin? I'll put a Garmin one in there, just one.
You know what I would do if I'm you, and if you really want to put one in the back for her as well, we can possibly put a little switch on the side of the panel, so you can physically switch it on and off. But we can test it. I mean, we can test it for you. The ones that we use that's cheaper, I have not found any interference from them, which is quite a cheaper version of a Garmin one. So I haven't found any interference from them yet. But just remember that if for any reason it does cause interference in future, you may have to then redo your panel cutout, because the cutout is bigger than your standard Garmin cutout. So I would start with at least a standard Garmin on that side.
Let's do that.
And then let's put a cheaper version on the back for her. Easy to take out or to repair if it's not working as you wish.
Yep, and you said we could switch that off.
We can switch it off.
Okay.
Physically. So what I will do is we'll put an aux switch, even if it's on the back, I can put the on off there. That will totally remove or apply power. So if it does give you trouble, you can literally switch it off.
Perfect.
Okay, so third party in the back. So one GSB15.
And the GSB15, will that have two
Cs? You can have a C or a C and USB, or two USBs or two Cs.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe, can you have a C and a USB?
I've actually got one. I can quickly show you what it looks like.
Because most of my devices are Cs now, but some of them...
So you want a USB-A and a USB-C?
Yeah, because you've got those devices that are still...
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You've still got some that you USB-A, yeah.
But in 5 years' time, is it going to be... 5 years' time, there'll be something else.
Well, here we go.
I mean, the other option is
one
you
right
get a double
there.
cable.
So there we go. So that's a little... It's a little unit. So, I mean, you can start feel by the weight of it. It's...
Oh, yeah.
Listen, it's very proper quality.
So that's perfect.
So that's a and a C,
yep.
A USB A and C, and I mean you can see it's really good quality.
I like that.
Yep.
That's exactly the one.
And you can see, you know, this. And the nice thing as well is, you know, like some of these others, the cheaper ones just fly through and it clip on. It's not a very good. These things are properly screwed in place.
Yep.
Fit there in there.
Done.
All right. So GSB, A and C. Like, A and C, like typically that one. So this is an extra one. So this will probably become yours.
Yep.
So I'll just put that there. All right. So the other thing is obviously the Garmin G5 will be your standby unit. Now, there's a lot of talk about where do you put that, because some of the guys, you know, will put it down here or here. It's your choice. The reason why I like it up there, again, it looks balanced, you know, first of all. And secondly, you know, if this fails, you don't want to have your eyes in the cockpit down here, in my view. You want it up as close to the horizon. You don't dip too deep into your cockpit. So having it like literally there, you know, it's very little deviation from horizon to there to check your airspeeds and everything. It's just me again. I like it at the top.
Have you ever mounted one over that side? Is there room over on that side?
I don't think I've ever seen one on that side. You can probably fit it in there. Then all of this will have to move slightly that way. I can't see why you can't have it here. You know, we can just measure it. I would say it's going to go in there. But on this side is all your startup, etc. switches. So then you probably need to take. So what you have on this side, you're going to have a master and your starter, and you're going to have lane A, lane B, and the lane A and lane B indicator lights.
Yeah. Okay. It's nice and clean on that side.
That's there, and then right here is your most important switches after that. So. You know, you get into that mode where if anything happens, whether it's a fuel issue, an electrical issue, it's that immediate.
Yep.
It's there. Your hands on the throttle, it's there.
Solved.
When you start putting it here, you know, you sort of have to jump between things. So this makes a very simple, easy, straightforward sequence.
And what was there?
That was the electric prop controller.
Oh, and that's not there anymore.
Yeah, it's not. You're not.
So that can move a little bit closer to.
Yeah. And I mean, you can leave it in the center there because it's the center of your stack. It looks nice and clean.
Yep.
So this stack as it is here will have, you can see here we've got these little small holes. That's like little guards that's going to guard those switches. You have the same there as guard because those are very important switches. That will be your lane A, lane B, always on. You will have your fuel pump, main pump, and your aux pump, which in emergency modes, in takeoff mode, that will always be on.
On, yeah.
And that's why you put them in the guard switches.
Do you fly with both pumps on all the time, or when you get into the cruise?
I fly with both pumps on all the time. You know, when I won't fly with both pumps on, when I use F-gas. So for some other reason, when you fly with MOGAS, sometimes your fuel on the TSI, well, I'm talking 915 engines specifically. Sometimes you tend to sit on that limit. So the lower limit is 2.9 bar. And you literally sometimes just dip 2.89. However, with F-gas, you don't have that problem, even when you go to altitude. So I sort of think that... Yes. Really hot conditions and MOGAS, you can sometimes have slightly low fuel pressure, and then I will fly with both pumps on all the time. I've seen it.
Okay.
So, but yes, the book says that, you know, once you're up and cruising, you can switch one of the pumps off, no problem.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
So yes, and then the other option is to have, you see this one here, is what I would call the oh shit switch. So that one is your ECU override switch. So in the event that you have full alternator failure on your 916 engines, that is an emergency switch that then pass some of, so you almost like you bypass the ECU in terms of power supply via the fuse box. So you then direct the fuel pump power directly to the battery. So it just bypasses it.
Yeah.
So as I say, we call it the OSHT switch. It's got other different functions, but so you can have that one right here as well. So you've got fuel pump there, and then the rest is Avionics,
Makes sense. Yep.
So we used to put them right at the end, but we have now started to change it so that it's also, you can see, sits in the guard, and you will literally, so that switch has two functions. That's good for you to learn as well.
Yep.
When you are on the ground and your engine is not started, and you want to check if these fuel pumps are actually working. You can switch these pumps on. You've got master on, you can switch the pumps on, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to hear a fuel pump. Because those fuel pumps are literally just controlled by the ECU, all right? So the moment you turn the starter, you've got 3 starter relays kicking in, and everything, pump starts running, everything, starts going. However, if you switch that switch on, and you switch these on while the engine is not running, you can actually hear your pumps. So that's going to be one of your ground checks when you check if your fuel pumps, and I mean, obviously important to know that your fuel pumps are working. So you can check even before you start the engine that both fuel pumps are working. By switching that on, you can physically hear the pumps are running. All right. Okay, so that emergency switch can come here.
Yep.
And then, so just say that we want the ECU override next to fuel pump.
Is there any, in terms of the switches themselves, getting into semantics here, but is there any way that you can color code them at all, or?
So what we used to do is, because we've got these little bars here, and you can have, I mean, some of the guys like to just have like a little chrome bar. We put little red bars there. It's an anodized red bar. So the switch is not really color coded, but it sits between these little red bars.
Yeah,
so
nice.
You know those, and the same with your lane A and lane B switcher. However, you do get little boots, like a little rubber boot, colored rubber boots that goes over these switches.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So you can make them green and red and whatever you want.
Cool. Okay.
If you really want. It doesn't have to be chrome.
Perfect.
So that can be done.
That's
and
good for me,
the other thing that I've also said is that new printer that we are getting, you can actually print as you can sort of go just around that area there. You can say that, and then these two, and then you can go here, and that will say be like your non-important stuff, and these last stuff here you can say lights. So you can group them in little.
Nice.
Yeah, really. So we can do something a little bit nicer and different. So you can either paint or powder coat your panel with this new, very, very nice printed labels on there, or you can go for that carbon look, and it's just a vinyl that we apply, and then still the same type of printed labels on top of it. Okay.
What looks best?
But I don't know. Some people like the almost like those military grey. I won't say military grey, but a light grey, almost this sort of grey. Even a darker grey panel looks nice. I still like the vinyl look, the carbon look. I don't know. It's personal preference. I mean, I can't tell you. Some people have like that brushed aluminium. I don't know if it's like a brushed aluminium. You just want something that, when my most important is, you don't want to go and once you've flown your aircraft for a couple of hours, you're going to know where everything sits. You get so used to your panel and your panel layout. But you don't want something that sort of disappears. So it must be a little bit contrasting so that you can see. But the labels, when they do stand out well if you use it. Obviously, there's one further option, and that is what we call backlighting. So everything, all the little writings, taxi lights, landing lights, whatever is on top of a switch. So the switch name is then engraved into a painted acrylic. And on the back of the acrylic, you've got little LED lights that light up the panel, and it's been engraved. So, when you switch on, you can have the backlights to be dimmer or brighter, and that's really nice. It looks absolutely awesome, but it's quite a bit more expensive, and it's a hell of a lot of machining, a lot of work. Yeah. So because you've got everything numbered and labeled on your panel, you do have overhead lights that shines soft red light onto your panel, and you don't really. I think that's enough for me. Yeah. If you're going to do IFR flight at all.
Yep.
So we will decide on the final finish of the panel later. Just in terms of equipment, because the equipment that you choose will determine what the panel layout will be. So we've got the one single unit. We've got a G5, whether it's there, or there. It's probably going to be there. Then now the center stack. The questions being, do you want a second radio, yay or nay?
Yay.
You want one? Okay, so there will be a second radio, which means you're going to have a GTR20 as an extra radio. Then the navigator, because your aircraft's going to be an IFR aircraft, you're going to have...
Sorry, question on the radio.
Yeah.
So the second radio So obviously we'll have a panel that'll be mounted
Panel
in
radio.
here,
That will probably sit around here.
around there.
Yeah.
And then the second radio will be controlled in here, right?
Yes. So it sits behind the panel, and you'll see on your GDU on the top bar, you just select radio 1, 2, and it will come up, and then on half of the screen is your frequency changes and everything.
Cool.
Okay. So second radio. So first radio will then be the new GTR205. This is the new nice color radio display. That's the one we're installing now. So that'll sit here. It can sit at the top, at the bottom. It's your choice. So you've got the option. And this is something that I can highly recommend. And again, it's just me. You've got an intercom panel. Okay? Now the intercom, especially if you've got two radios, on your intercom panel, you can then select whether you want to listen to both radios, or you're only going to listen to one, on which radio you're going to transmit. And it's simple, a matter of you can listen to both radios, and you can say, well, I'm going to transmit on radio 1 or on radio 2. And so press of a button.
Yep.
And as you press the button lights up. So you know always which radio is in reception or transmission.
Yep.
Also on your radios, you've got the option that the radio will do two frequencies, meaning listen to two frequencies simultaneously. So you can have, say, your tower frequency, and you can have Brisbane Center on the other frequency. And you have got a monitor button, and you can listen to both. So one radio can listen to two frequencies. If you have a second radio, you can listen to 4 different frequencies, which is sort of nice when you start getting into busy airspace and you want to change and listen out for ATIS and all of that, but while you're also listening for traffic. So that will be radio, but I'm just coming back to the intercom. So also on the intercom, you've got selections for Bluetooth, meaning you can listen to music through your headsets, and you can isolate your passengers. You know, if you're getting a little bit busy into the circuit, you can isolate the crew or whatever. It's all just a push of a button. If you do not have that intercom panel, the GMA245, so that will be the next thing. GMA245 is our intercom. If you're not going to have a what we call a panel mount GMA, which is the standard GMA, you're going to have a remote unit. Now, the remote unit also works here, which means it will sit up at the bar there. If you want anything audio or intercom, you tap on it. When you tap on it, it's going to bring up half a screen intercom. For all the buttons that's on here is there, but now it's just a touch button, and you have to select whether you're going to transmit on 1 or on 2, or listen to 1 or 2. What I find in turbulence and things is that becomes a little bit, jittery. Whereas this, you see it, you touch it.
Yeah.
That's just me. I love the standard intercom panel.
Yeah.
Not stand. The standard, the panel mounted one.
Yeah.
So, which means you will have a radio, you will have an intercom right under it.
Yep.
And and the selection of where you want certain things is totally up to you. I mean, this is your center stack. You can do with this whatever you want. But so we agreed you're going to have 2 radios lit, and then the intercom, you must decide whether you want a panel mount or a remote mount intercom.
Okay.
Okay, but that you can decide on. So
A panel. It'll be panel.
On the panel. Okay, panel mount as well. So for your navigator, the IFR certified WAS certified instrument, we've got basically 3 options. We can fit the GTN750, which is a big display. It's about that size display, so it takes up. So once you fit that, you lose a lot of panel space. So everything becomes remote.
Yep.
Sometimes even your 2 radios become remote, which okay, if that's what you want. Some people want a very uncluttered panel, and it looks nice. But it's a lot of money to pay for a unit just to have that big display, where a lot of that is in any case going to be displayed here. So the next radio, but I just need to also say that unit also has VOR and ILS. So the next step down is your GTN650, which is about that size. So it will be about that size. So it's smaller than the 750, exactly the same functionality.
Yeah, it's just a size difference.
It's just bigger display. And then your third option, So you start at about, for the 750, it's roughly about $26,000, whereas your 650 is about 24,000. And when you come to your GNX375, which is that size there. Now, a GNX375 is a WA certified ADSB in and out transponder with GPS. I like that unit simply because the price drops right down to about $12,000,
Yep.
which is like almost half the price of the other, and it still gives you a certified IFR aircraft.
And the one thing that
but it does
loses-
not have VOR.
Yep.
So it doesn't have a nav radio built into it. So the other two units also has built-in radios in them. So it's a standard radio, but it's also a nav radio. Now the problem is, for me, if that unit, a 650 or a 750, should go faulty and you have to send it back for repairs, you immediately lose your radio as well. Whereas with this unit, you can literally take that out and send it away for repairs. It does not affect your communications at all. You can still have your radio. But that's just, again, it's personal choice. That's how I do it. So I think you said you'd like to have the GNX375.
Yeah, the only question I had was around that training thing, that I could get my IFR rating with.
You can absolutely still
Yep.
do all of it.
So that sort of
So
ticks
you'll
all
do
the boxes.
GPS approaches. You will not do a GPS and RNAV approach.
Yeah.
So, so that's the story. So the last unit that goes on here, which is not, you don't have to have it. I mean, you can have, this is your autopilot controller, the GMC 507, GMC 507. Autopilot controller, everything that thing does is also up here. You tap on the bar and it's got a drop-down box which gives you all the functionality of that. So normally, if you've got a very busy panel, I would say, don't worry about it, it's there. But this unit is just so much easier to use. Again, it's the same thing. You've got little knobs. You can very easily adjust it. It doesn't, when it's getting a bit rough, you don't have to jump around. So, heading out buttons, vertical speed up, down, nav button, speed up, down. Everything is there.
Yep.
So that sort of completes your GMC 507 as an autopilot controller. So that sort of completes your panel. You just need to decide on the intercom.
Yep.
Circuit breakers, obviously circuit breakers is as required by whatever equipment we use here. Same with your switches. And then the only other thing that sort of comes up here that is a question, you're going to have a go-around switch. It's physically a go-around button. So it's a push button. So, for example, if you do a RNAV approach in IFR conditions, and you sort of break through the cloud and, you sort of get to that point where you feel, this is getting a little bit to my minimums, I would rather just, on your approach to the runway, I would rather just, go around.
Mm-hmm.
You push that button, the autopilot will automatically change the pitch of the aircraft. For a go-around, all you need to do is just apply power and change prop settings. So that's literally just a little go-around switch there.
Okay.
And that's standard on an IFR panel. So we will put that up.
Nice, yeah.
Up here, you will have some warning lights, typical your annunciator light. So if anything on your engine here goes, we program this unit so that it can read your all your engine settings.
Mm-hmm.
So if any of those engine settings goes in the red, that light will come on. Boom, annunciator light comes on. It draws your attention. You tap on your engine bar and it displays everything, and it will immediately tell you that sensor is out of whack. Then you can go on your Garmin, on the GTR205. You can physically go into the menu, and the menu on the engine setting will tell you even what sensor has gone bust. Okay, so just a warning light. If anything here is not good, so annunciator light over there. Other lights will be just a master light next to your master to tell you it's switched on or off, so you don't forget the master on accidentally, and then your 2-lane lights on top of the 2-lane switches. That's about sort of the lights that will be on your panel. The only other light you can have is on your Pitot to show that your Pitot is switched on.
So that was a question, sorry. The regulated
Heated and regulated
Yeah.
pitot switch.
Because I'll have to have that for IFR,
Must.
right?
For IFR,
Yep.
you must have a heated regulated pitot. So your pitot switch will actually have a little, but you can have it either on top of a switch, or you can just have it next to your other switch, other light there, so that you know, you don't forget your pitot on all the time. Once you've broken clear of conditions.
Yeah. Because it sucks a fair bit.
Yeah,
too, doesn't
it sucks a fair bit off. And that brings me back to the 916 engine. So obviously you've got two alternators on the engine. It's built into the unit, but that's why we like to fit that external alternator.
Yep.
Give you an extra 40 amps at least.
Yep.
And that will be another light that will be up here somewhere to say that your external alternator is on or not.
On, yep. So, and that light will be on if it's on or off?
Normally it's when you are sitting on the ground and you switch your master on, that light will come. If you switch it on, that light will come on.
Yep.
And the moment that you start, that light should go. Yeah.
And then sorry, I feel like I'm jumping around now, but the Garmin Back-up battery.
Yep.
So where I sort of sit on the tarmac and put the flight plans.
That will be so the sequence of switches is fairly simple. Lane A, lane B, fuel pump 1, fuel pump 2, or main and auxiliary pump, as they would call it. Then number 3 here will be that ECU override.
Yep.
When your number 4 switch, that is when you get in the aircraft, all of that is now done. So the first thing you want to do is to do your flight planning, so you switch your battery back up on.
Yep.
You're not going to do any of this. You're just going to flip that one on.
And that gives me 30 minutes, right?
Oh, it's a lot. No, it's probably quite more. It's probably more 2 hours. Yeah. So, and that's really the main reason why most people fit the switch is for flight planning on the tarmac. However, if all your electrics go out, you can flick that thing on. This will still be alive up to the point where you now have to land the aircraft, because all your power goes out. Your engine's going to stop in any case. But so that's a good backup. And then just so you also know that G5 has also got its own internal battery. Again, about 2 hours, small little battery. But if all of this dies, and the engine is hopefully happily still running, that little unit will give you all your flight systems information. No engine info, but at least all your six-pack, typical six-pack instrument, airspeed, altimeter, all the rest.
Yep.
Okay. So that is sort of generally what the panel is all about with your options. So what we do is we will then, based on what you want, we will then go and give this to our designer. They will design you a panel. And the panel will typically look something like that. So he gives you a printout of how this panel looks. And then with every little switch is marked and numbered. So you can then say, oh, you know what, I don't like that, I want to move that there, whatever. Once you've signed off on it, then we get the panel cut. And in the meantime, we start building all the wiring. And when you're up here, you're going to sit with me, or probably with Joseph, and you're going to sit, and he's going to help you and show you exactly how our wiring system, how the whole architecture of a Garmin system works. We wire the aircraft in accordance with the wiring diagram supplied by the factory. So it's exactly the same. So if you ever have an issue with your panel or with electrics, whatever, you can go to any avionics shop. They just call up all the wiring diagrams, and they can literally do proper fault finding. So all the wires are marked exactly as it would be by the factory. That's the story. So what we can do, we can go and, well, we don't need to do it now, but I actually think I've got 90% of what you're going to need to finish this aircraft in stock.
Cool.
So for us, mainly, Joseph, we need to now put up a pick list of what we need in terms of connectors. And then once we've got all our connectors, then we will start making a wiring diagram. So
the high wing that you've got in there at the moment in the has it got a 375?
It's got 375.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah,
cool.
So the one that I've got there, well, I would say I very rarely have sold the 650s, but there's a couple 650s out there flying, the Garmin 650s. Yeah. The GNX375 is a very, very popular unit right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good to see the size of it, because I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's not small. It's a nice screen, and it's got all the functionality on there. But I mean, all of what you see there is available on your big display as well.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Nice.
that's the story.
Done. I think that's it.
So from this, I will now set the requirements. Things get us a design. Once we got a design, we can sign the design off, and then Joseph can get to work and start building panels.
Bang.
Yeah.
I'm going to be your first.
Nice.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
That's good.
Fantastic.
I like it. Thanks, Errol.
Okay, good.
Made a lot of sense too.
Joseph, you